Hey everyone, good to see everyone again. I wanted to talk with everybody about a very serious topic and one that I encounter frequently as a therapist, and that's masturbation. Yes, you heard that right. Masturbation is a very serious problem. It's one that gets a lot of people in trouble, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. So the late psychologist Dr. Albert Ellis, he said that it isn't the things that happen to us that cause us to feel emotionally upset, to feel depressed, to feel anxious, to feel angry. He said instead that it's our interpretation of those events, what we tell ourselves about the events, the meaning that we attach to the events that cause us emotional upset. So take, for example, I always use this example with clients. I say, imagine you're sitting in a really nasty traffic jam and it's bumper to bumper, and you look to your right and you see the person in the next car and they're cursing and screaming and yelling and maybe throwing the middle finger up. And then the person on the left is sitting in their car, perfectly content, calm, maybe listening to the radio. They're in the exact same situation. So we can't say it's the situation that's causing someone to get upset if not everyone is reacting in that way. Rather, each of those drivers, whether they know it or not, and we usually don't, they're assigning meaning to that event. They're telling themselves if it's good, if it's bad, if they can handle it, if they can't handle it, if things should be this way or if they shouldn't. And so when I refer to the term masturbation, the late Dr. Ellis said that this is something that happens in our thinking. So when we think that things absolutely must be a certain way, we're masturbating. When we tell ourselves, I have to close so many sales today at work, or I'm just a total failure, we're masturbating. When we're telling ourselves that, it's a damn shame that the delivery guy can't get here on time with our pizza, we are masturbating. We're telling ourselves that things must be the way we think they should be. Otherwise, we convince ourselves how awful it is, how terrible it is. We awfulize. He also called it "I can't stand it-itis." We convince ourselves that we absolutely cannot cope with this, and that causes our emotional upset. So that's what masturbation is. When we convince ourselves that things must absolutely be a certain way, that other people must absolutely treat us a certain way, that we must be a certain way. Otherwise, we convince ourselves how awful it is, how terrible it is. He also talked about, he said that people should all over themselves. That's SHOULD. And they should all over other people. This person shouldn't have talked to me this way. I should always be able to reach the goals I set for myself. Every time. Otherwise, it's awful, it's terrible, I can't stand it. The late Dr. Ellis, he would have said that it's better, it tends to be healthier to think in terms of preferences. While we might prefer that something were a certain way, is it really the end of the world? Is it really, is it really an insurmountable obstacle that we absolutely positively cannot cope with, just because things went a little bit differently than what we had hoped? And more times than not, no, it's not. Even something like a senseless tragedy. When we tell ourselves, things absolutely must not be this way, it's kind of out of our control, those kinds of events. And I think of all the, I guess what comes to mind for me, I was in Orlando, Florida, the week that the shooting happened at the Pulse nightclub. And I don't ever go to nightclubs, but I remember, my husband and I at the time, we had talked about going to a nightclub while we were there. We never got around to it, and it was so strange because I woke one morning and my father called me. He said, "Are you," he was kind of panicking. He said, "Are the two of you okay?" And I said, yeah, I was really caught off guard by his phone call because I didn't even know that that had occurred. And he was telling me about it. And, it's a really senseless tragedy. I don't want to use the word awful because that's awfulizing. It's really unfortunate that that happened. I mean, it's senseless. It's senseless tragedy. But how is getting myself all tied up in knots, telling myself, things absolutely must not be this way, things can't be this way? The fact is, they do happen. How is worrying about it? How is obsessing about it? How is getting angry about those things? How is that going to change or prevent the fact that those kinds of things occur in the world? It's not. The late Dr. Ellis, he said it tends to be a lot more emotionally healthy to think in terms of preferences, rather than absolutistic, all or nothing. Things have to be all this way or all not. Very black and white thinking. That tends to get us in a lot of trouble. And I hear clients sometimes, they'll tell me, if I don't do X, Y, and Z, it means I'm a terrible person or a terrible employee, or I'm not good enough. Well, think about that. When you're saying, I'm not good enough because I didn't do X, Y, and Z, that statement, I'm not good enough, you're really saying I'm not good enough at all. It's a very absolutistic kind of statement. And, you think about, I don't know how many of you have ever taken a statistics course, but think about the bell curve. The majority of us are somewhere in the middle, that big middle of the bell curve. We have things that we do well, and we have things that we don't do as well. Kind of makes us a normal, right? So getting stuck in that black and white thinking is very often a major contributor to feelings of depression, anxiety, anger even. I hear this a lot, in couples work that I do, the very, very absolutistic kinds of statements. You never listen to me. Well, I'm guessing, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but, I'm guessing if you had a partner that you had been with for 7 or 8 years and they never listened to you, I'm guessing you wouldn't have stayed in that relationship. My guess is they probably listened to you some of the time, just not always in the way that you would like them to. It's a more rational statement, right? So those kinds of thoughts can be really, 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 really sneaky, really, really hard to catch. And what I teach clients to do, especially in individual therapy, is to catch those thoughts when they occur and really kind of think about their thinking, to really pick apart their thinking and, think about, is this absolutistic, all or nothing, black and white kind of statement I'm making to myself? Is this really representative of reality? Is it really the case that if things aren't the way I think they should or must be, that I absolutely positively cannot cope with it? Well, no, probably not. But yeah, I've got some more stuff on Dr. Ellis's work posted on my website. Come and check me out online, briansharpcounseling.com. And I'd be happy to talk with you, if you're maybe dealing with some feelings of depression or anger, anxiety. I work with those issues very often. Also substance use, very, very applicable to substance use issues. And even, with couples, I sometimes use some of these techniques. Because, just getting them to take a step back and think about, is this a reasonable standard I'm holding this other person to always have to listen to me, or else, I just cannot deal with it? Well, no, probably not. But anyway, if you want to read more, I've got stuff on masturbation. I know it's a funny word, but I've got a blog entry on my website specifically on masturbation and shooting all over oneself. Go check them out. I think you'll find them kind of humorous. And I'd be happy to talk with you. Feel free to email me if you like. But I will catch everyone soon. You guys take care, okay? Bye.